During the Civil War, both sides were at war fighting hard, and they had to gain information about the other side. So how did they do this? They got spies to do it. These spies would do bizarre things to get information about the other side. Such as one spy, the Confederate spy Belle Boyd, often visited Union camps undercover to retrieve information. She acted as a courier, and once she even listened into a council of war through a peephole in the door. She also flirted with Union officers to get information. Another spy by the name of Alan Pinkerton was selected to establish the Union's Army's first intelligence organization. Pinkerton and his agents were infiltrating a group of Southern soldiers in Maryland when Pinkerton's operatives learned the group was planning to kill Lincoln as he traveled from his Illinois home to Washington, D.C. The operatives in Pinkerton warned Lincoln about what they have heard.
Espionage, or the art of spying, was common on both sides of the Civil War. The Confederacy's Signal Corps was very effective and may have helped prolong the conflict, but it's the Union's abilities to wage a secret war of espionage, like the Pinkertons, that helped decide victory for Abraham Lincoln and the Union.
The use of espionage in the Civil War relates to the topic of frontiers by most importantly having significant contributions to abolishing slavery in the U.S. The Union spies saved Abraham Lincoln from an assassination attempt and contributed to the Union in many other ways, hence them crucially supporting the end of slavery. The physical crossing of the battle frontiers happened as well during the Civil War. For example, Union spy Alan Pinkerton acted as a Confederate soldier to obtain information from the Confederate States.
The contributions of certain spies such as Alan Pinkerton and Belle Boyd altered the outcome of the Civil War, crossing major frontiers regarding slavery in the United States and strengthening the government for years to come. The spies helped both sides fight in the war and could have had major impacts on the outcome based on certain things that they did, such as when Alan Pinkerton helped warn President Lincoln about an assassination attempt.
The espionage efforts of the Union were superior to that of the Confederacies for multiple reasons. One example is the establishment of the Union's first intelligence agency during the Civil War. General George McClellan, who was commanding the Union Army of the Potomac, which was the largest federal force in the East, established the first intelligence organization of the Union Army. With Alan Pinkerton chosen to lead, Alan Pinkerton had already been involved in the construction of the Underground Railroad, with his national detective agency being the largest in the country.
Counterintelligence was notable as well, arresting numerous crucial spies of the Confederacy early in the war, such as Rose O'Neal Greenhow, who was politically connected in Washington, D.C., credited by Southerners for having provided information that gave the Confederacy the potential to secure the Battle of the Bull Run. Confederate spy Belle Boyd was also arrested on accounts of espionage after imparting information to the General Thomas Jackson.
Pinkerton transcended in getting his operatives behind enemy lines. However, with few exceptions, they lacked the ability to get applicable and accurate information. This led to Pinkerton's central source of intelligence being the interrogation of refugees, defectors, and prisoners.
Another influential figure amongst the Union side of the American Civil War was Abraham Lincoln, who happened to be saved by some of the Pinkerton spies as they prevented and concluded a scheme to assassinate the president. This was accomplished by some of the spies in the Pinkerton Detective Agency, such as Kate Warren, who was the first woman to be appointed to the agency, and Alan Pinkerton, the founder of the Pinkerton Detective Agency.
No detective agency had ever hired a woman detective before, though Pinkerton made the right decision with her persuasive case. She could easily infiltrate places as she was a woman, someone who nobody would expect to be an undercover detective. Women have an eye for detail and are excellent observers, Warren told Pinkerton. With the aid of Warren, Pinkerton and the agency were likely able to save one of the most influential people at the time, soon-to-be President Abraham Lincoln.
They were able to foil a plot right before his inauguration in early 1861, as Lincoln was taking a train ride to give his inaugural speech in Washington, D.C. Kate Warren fathomed details that regarded an assassination attempt for the president, which ended up saving his life. Without the help of the detective agency, the Union likely would have lost the Civil War because of the death of Lincoln, as he helped lead the Union to a victory over the Confederacy.
Lincoln was a very important figure during a time of despair, fear, and division. His large commitment to end slavery and preserve the Union was a big factor that helped the Union end slavery and win the war, even though he had to persevere during a time of battle, and he never gave up, despite the many obstacles he was faced with. Because of this, the detectives in the war, such as Pinkerton and Warren, deserve a recognition because of their major contributions towards victory of the American Civil War.
Another reason that the Union spies were further in development in the Civil War is demonstrated by Confederate spy Belle Boyd. Belle Boyd was considered a rebel all her life, beginning when she was 10, when at night she taught her associate and slave Eliza how to read and write.
Slavery, like all other imperfect forms of society, will have its day, Boyd wrote, but the time for its final extinction in the Confederate States of America has not yet arrived.
Also at age 11, Boyd shot and killed a member of the Union forces who were ordered to capture Martinsburg, her hometown, by General Robert Patterson. When the soldier physically threatened her mother, she took a pocket pistol and shot him dead. She was then consumed by her thoughts and plans of vengeance.
Belle Boyd became a spy for the Confederacy after she was released from prison. She was openly Confederate while she visited Union camps as a courier, which led to her early arrest in 1862.
During her spying, she flirted with members of the Union, sometimes with the Confederate garb just for an amusing effect, and then gave the information she obtained to multiple nearby Confederate generals. Eventually, Alan Pinkerton began a dossier on Boyd and wrote a note to Edwin Stanton, Secretary of War.
The message read, "She gets around considerably, is very shrewd, and is probably acting as a spy. She is an open, earnest, and undisguised secessionist and talks secession on all practicable occasions. Informant considers her more efficient in carrying news to the rebels of her operations than any 3 men in the valley."
Boyd was arrested after Stanton's orders. She was later informed that her latest paramour was a Union spy acting as a Confederate soldier and had gotten to give her a letter intended for General Thomas Jackson, which he turned in for evidence.
Though she wept, she understood, standing by an expression she had adopted, "All is fair in love and war." Her espionage efforts could have continued if not for her flamboyant spying behavior and methods, giving another example of the Pinkerton organization's transcendency in getting operatives behind enemy lines and getting information based on arrests and prisoner questioning.
In conclusion, the espionage efforts on both the Union and Confederacy sides of the war greatly affected the outcome. Though prolonging the war, the Confederacy's efforts to obtain intelligence were inadequate to succeed against the Union, relative to the Union's Pinkerton Detective Agency against the Confederacy.
Pinkerton members, with the help of Kate Warren, the first woman detective in the agency, Alan Pinkerton, and other notable members of the Pinkerton Detective Agency, were able to help the Union Army to win the war.
Their important contributions significantly affected the abolishing of slavery in the U.S. and further developed the country as a place of equal treatment and rights. Their superiority is demonstrated in multiple instances, one being how Pinkerton and the establishment of his agency helped arrest multiple noteworthy Confederate spies and obtain intelligence with their interrogations.
Pinkerton Detective Agency also saved Lincoln from an assassination attempt with the aid of Kate Warren and other members of the agency.
Confederate spy Belle Boyd was significant in the espionage efforts of the Confederacy, though her openly Confederate style of gaining intelligence led to her arrest after Pinkerton and Stanton were able to confirm she was a spy.
Overall, the Union's ability to wage a secret war of espionage like the Pinkertons helped decide victory for Abraham Lincoln and the Union.